DPT. The initials stand for diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, 3 diseases against which every child is vaccinated. For more than a year, we have been investigating the P, the pertussis port of the vaccine. What we have found are serious questions about the safety and effectiveness of the shot. The overriding policy of the medical establishment has been to aggressively promote the use of the vaccine, but it has been anything but aggressive in dealing with the consequences. While there has been active study and debate in other countries on this subject, there has been a general void of information in the United States. Our objective in the next hour is to provide enough information so that there can be an informed discussion about this important subject. It affects every single family in America. It's a fact of life. All children must get 4 DPT shots to go to school. Shots we are told will keep our children healthy. Shots we are told will protect every child from a dread disease, pertussis. It's whooping cough. But the DPT shot can also damage to a devastating degree.
It's probably the poorest and the most dangerous vaccine that we now have.
The benefits of the vaccine, in my view, far outweigh the risks.
I believe that the risk of damage from the vaccine is now greater than the risk of damage from the disease.
Despite its limitations, whooping cough vaccine is something that should be given to children.
Since 1933, studies have shown that the whooping cough or pertussis vaccine causes brain damage. The controversy isn't really over the fact that it happens, but how often it happens, and whether it happens often enough to deem the vaccine more dangerous than the disease itself. You don't have to ask the Grants of Beaver Dam, Wisconsin that question.
That's all right, Ma.
We had a child up to 4 months of age that was developing beautifully well. The doctor explained that he was giving Scott his first DPT shot. Between 12 and 14 hours, he gave an outburst of a very hard cry. What we learned later were infantile spasms. It was determined up at the Mayo Clinic after a group of doctors conferred and indicated that it was indeed the DPT shots that injured Scott. I went home and cried. Jim cried. We couldn't believe that we could possibly have such a black future.
I had to start in the business for myself. I had to be near the home all the time in regards to helping lift him, care for him, and take care of his many needs. It's quite a big job. We have not had a vacation for 21 years. We simply can't go away. It's impossible to go away.
It's important to remember, however, most children who get the DPT shot have minor reactions like swollen arms or fussiness. But there are more serious reactions that doctors should be watching for and worrying about. The Pediatric Red Book, written by the American Academy of Pediatrics, lists high fever, collapse, shock-like collapse, unconsolable crying, convulsions, and brain damage as reactions to the DPT vaccine. Those complications are associated with varying degrees of retardation, ranging from severe brain damage, like Scott's, to learning disabilities which may never be connected to the shot. The physician's desk reference, prepared by manufacturers, says the P part of the vaccine is a possible link to sudden infant death syndrome. This is for sure. The whooping cough or pertussis vaccine is the most unstable, least reliable vaccine we give our children. Dr. Gordon Stewart, epidemiologist and pediatrician, University of Glasgow, Scotland, a member of the British government's Committee on the Safety of Medicines.
Pertussis vaccine is a crude brew, literally, of those bacteria and all their growth products.
Dr. Robert Mendelsohn of Chicago, author, lecturer, and former head of pediatrics departments at the University of Illinois Medical School and the Michael Reese Hospital in Chicago.
The statistics of this country are wrong, and that the danger is far greater than any doctors here have ever been willing to admit.
Dr. Larry Bariff of the UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles. He did a study of reactions to the whooping cough vaccine.
I don't think this is the type of vaccine that would be produced today. That probably, if this were, if this vaccine were produced in 1980 instead of in the 1930s and 40s, there'd be a different type of technology available, and we would make a more purified vaccine.
The Bureau of Biologics Bacterial Program, it's part of the Food and Drug Administration, exists to make sure our bacterial vaccines are effective and safe. Dr. John Robbins, head of that program, concedes the vaccine is not perfect, but
much more is to be gained by immunizing the children with our current vaccines with its limitations than by allowing our children to be exposed to contracting pertussis.
Dr. Edward Mortimer of Case Western Reserve University here in Cleveland, Ohio, is considered by the government to be a leading expert in the field of childhood disease, especially whooping cough and its vaccine. He has served on numerous FDA panels and speaks as well for the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Whooping cough is a bacterial disease. It's a disease that goes on for a long time. Some people used to call it a 100-day fever, even though there isn't much fever associated with it. 2 weeks of minor respiratory symptoms with a beginning cough, followed by 2 weeks of an increasing cough with the characteristic whoop, like that. At the end of the coughing spell, the poor kid often vomits. That child essentially ends up retaining little or no nutrition. With the damage to the lining of the bronchial tubes, the child is much more susceptible to pneumonia, and they incur lack of oxygen during the coughing spells. And in a young baby with a developing brain, lack of oxygen isn't necessarily a very good thing. The disease itself, for reasons that are not entirely clear, sometimes produces what is called encephalopathy, brain damage.
Dr. Alan Hinman, chief of the Immunization Division at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta.
For the individual who has whooping cough, it is a serious disease. It certainly is not as fatal a disease as it was in the 30s, nor is it as common.
In fact, whooping cough in this country is almost gone. There are less than 2,000 cases a year. During the 1930s, though, whooping cough struck over 195,000 people. 4,800 people died from the disease annually. Then the disease plummeted. By the early 50s, when the vaccine was in mass usage, the cases of whooping cough were down to 37,000 and 270 deaths. Today, with cases under 2,000, there are an average of about 9 deaths a year, almost all in tiny infants. As you can see, the disease was already in decline before the vaccine was widely used, and there are a number of reasons for that.
Better nutrition, maybe. Maybe better means of handling these kids when they got in the hospital. Maybe a change in the organism. That is not unknown.
Dr. Bobby Young, a microbiologist. For 12 years, he studied and researched vaccines at both the Bureau of Biologics and the University of Maryland. He told us before his death last summer he believed the disease is now easily treated.
However, these days when we have bacterial antibiotics, when we have chemotherapy, death from pertussis is a relatively rare event.
When children die of whooping cough, it's because they are disadvantaged in some other way. A completely well child doesn't often die of whooping cough.